All right, so let's go over this. And do you want to preface this one at all?
Yeah, I can. You can. I know you've read it as well, and I don't know if you want to watch or just maybe pull it up. Might be faster because this is kind of there's not a lot of cuts in here. But yeah, this document, some people reach out to me after the P320 videos have been kind of I don't want to say going viral, but they've been getting attention a little bit. But somebody reached out to me from within inside ICE DHS, and they offered to send this document, which has the title you can see there. Which is SIG P320 Pistol Uncommanded Discharge Safety Disclosure Research and Evaluation. And for a long time, a lot of people have been wondering, okay, who's really reviewing these guns? I kind of need a credible source, right? Or what exactly is wrong? This document possibly addresses all those things. So in the back specifically, you get a summary of who wrote this document. I was asked to keep his name redacted, but he has a ton of experience with firearms. He custom fabricated top secret weapons, devices for SOCOM. He's a certified guy for pretty much every manufacturer out there, including SIG. He does custom sniper rifles, pistols, suppressed revolvers, which I thought was cool. So he's got the sauce, and he does not like the P320, I will just say. But he actually goes into the document here and talks about what specifically he thinks is wrong with the gun. It's very technical. I won't get into it now, but very refreshing to see. And I think I'm probably going to try and get this around to more of the right people, just so hopefully something can be done about this issue.
Right. And I mean, if you read this full document, it goes into all of the different, or not all, but most of the different incidents involving police officers, unintended discharges, how they were able to recreate the drop safe issue, that was several years ago at this point. And I think that in your first video on SIG, I want to say, or maybe it was the second video, the longer video, you show the wear on the striker surface, and sometimes the striker safety is either incorrect or like non-existent in some of the firearms.
Yeah, well, it's bent, and the corners that when you bend metal, I mean, the documents that SIG has, the blueprints or whatever, are supposed to be a solid right angle. So I mean, there's plenty of smoke here. I think the design is one thing, but when you throw in like the loose tolerances with like the shipped in parts from everywhere else, then it's kind of like, man, we're dealing with a whole ball of wax here.
Well, and that's another thing too, is you have like mimmed parts from India, from Israel, from Turkey, Pakistan. I mean, several different places, and then you're throwing them all together in one firearm, right?
Well, from India and Israel that we've seen on the packaging, and then barrels from, I believe, South Korea for their 1911. Just to clarify and be, just to be super nailing on it, but yeah, they've sold guns to Pakistan allegedly, and India, and now they announced the partnership with NIBE, I believe. It's either NIBE or NIBI Defense in India. So I mean, it's like they say American manufacturing. I have no doubt that things are assembled in America. And I've heard critical components like the barrel, slide, etc., are actually made here, but it seems like kind of an assembly plant, if anything, really. So.
Well, so if we go through the document, so the ICE LE officer unintentional discharges, UD, and injuries of all UDs since 2017, 53 involved the 6 Sauer P320, 12 UDs resulting in 7 injuries after only 18 months using the P320, and the court records indicate that at least 3 ICE agents have been injured with P320s through December of 2022. The number and frequencies of injuries are strongly suggestive of design flaws versus human performance errors. So a lot of the cope that I continue to see to this day is that it was bad ammo, right? Or it was bad holsters, or it was negligence on the officer or the user, right? Never the fault of the gun whatsoever, even though there is seemingly video evidence to the contrary. You have the settled lawsuits and whatnot, but the reports are pretty damning.
Yeah, you got to love that one. Well, I think when the first incident or two happened, they could probably get away with saying, oh, guys, it's just a cop issue. It's all cops. And ironically, kind of preying on that division between, okay, people thinking whatever they want to think about cops. A lot of these people saying these things are supposed to be like the thin blue line people, I thought, but that's okay. Right. But it kept happening. and kept happening. And yeah, the response every time is basically to blame the user. And it's like, okay, I can see one cop in one department, but then you have this department over here and over here and over here. Then you have Canadian JTF2. Then you have SWAT guys. Then you have the Army. And then in my second most recent video, Marines and Air Force. And so it's like, are you really going to just say all these people are just stupid and are all accidentally pulling it on themselves? I don't think that holds water, me personally. So
well, I mean, even if it was a really, really high percentage, like let's say 50% of the discharges were user error, that's still a lot of times where your handgun went off when it wasn't supposed to. And like, we talked about it a little bit before, but the Gungus, when he had his P320 go off with his hands up with the gun in his holster at a competition, right? With lots of people around, the RO's there. So he gets DQ'd at a competition because his 320 just goes off. And I think it bounced off his Benchmade before going into his leg. So, I mean,
no, the knife saved his leg.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It deflected the bullet enough to not actually go into his leg, which is, you don't want to get shot in the leg going straight down. Not a great time. Not a great time whatsoever. You don't ever want to get shot in general, but of course, yeah, can be really nasty, life-threatening, especially if you hit an artery and then you're bleeding out really fast. So thank you, Sig, for that very much. But this video is actually from a couple years ago, and now importantly, his gun is post-recall. So they had a recall originally on the drop safety thingamajig, and his specifically is post that. So it was supposed to be the safe version, right?
Yeah, that's the issue. And the whole core of that too, that I don't know if we really ever pick up on, is we're trusting the company that had this issue in the first place and let it slip to investigate and kind of fix themselves, basically. And we're basically just, assuming that, okay, now they got it right. Yeah, a lot of the lawsuits are post-upgrade guns. And if you look at the document I just shared, he alleges he did a whistleblower disclosure that he can make any post-upgrade P320 fire when struck at a negative 30-degree angle on the back of the slide, I believe, and frame simultaneously. So I would like to, I wanted to get this out there. I would like people to test that, obviously, but he is saying that everyone has that issue, and we have seen a lot of those lawsuits that have supposedly upgraded guns that are going off with allegedly a tap or a bump, right, when they're holstered. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, and as this notes, it was a voluntary upgrade program. That was how it was marketed. Voluntary upgrade, not a safety recall, a voluntary upgrade. I believe that's how that was done, if I remember correctly, which is a good marketing move. That's how you should do it, right? Free upgrades for you. You don't want to get shot, do you?
Yeah, you can upgrade from shit to slightly less shitty. That is technically an upgrade, correct?
Yeah, I love the theoretically part in here. It theoretically will reduce the chances of it going off on its own. So
yeah, so you saw this, right? And you read this. I know you had for a little bit. So what did you think of it, if I can ask you?
It didn't really change my mind on anything. I think what did I say to you? I was like, wow, this is great, because it basically just everything that has been said bad about the 320, this kind of just reinforces. So there wasn't like a ton of new stuff other than like the gentleman saying that he can get any 320 to go off, meaning that the problem has not been fixed at all. Doesn't matter pre-upgrade, post-upgrade, anything like that. It doesn't matter. It can still go off in the same manner. And on top of that, the SIG 320 just has other issues. Like if you remember the barrels blowing out the sides with the full non-fully supported chamber, that's happened for years now, right? And so for me, it's just like I don't think they're particularly safe, and I don't think that they're particularly well made. And as you can see, you get parts from all over the place shoved into these things. The only thing that's good about them is that they won a lot of contracts and made SIG a lot of money, right?
Yeah, well, they have a high bore axis, I've heard as well. So it's like, okay, at the very best, you have an average trigger. I mean, that's the thing, is it's single action internally, but the trigger is like nothing crazy to write home about.
I've shot raced out 320s, and they're great shooters. It's like, it's nice, but it's like, would I buy that over any other handgun of similar performance? No, personally, I wouldn't, right?
Yeah, and I would agree with your earlier point about this document. It's kind of nice to see it all written down, right? Mm-hmm. And I totally understand that, sometimes, in information warfare, people will like leak stuff to you that is maybe slightly on or off just to see if what's out there. But, I judged this and found it to be credible, or I read it and found it to be credible. I know I'm just an internet guy, but he is laying a lot out there, and he has a lot of details in here. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see it confirmed, because we kind of felt it. The Spidey sense went off a few years ago with the 320, so kind of indicates.
Well, so I like this part here. So the current lawsuits of the uncommanded discharges UD appear to be related to the now fixed drop safety issue. Most, if not all of the allegations seem to involve the upgraded pistols, not fixed, upgraded pistols, or those produced after the drop safety problem was identified by SIG. So, I mean, yeah, a cursory Google search will show you many lawsuits over the last 5 years. Like, it takes 15 seconds to go over them from various years, different people. It just happens. And I think they're up to 25 million that we know of settled out of court, I want to say. Somewhere in that number.
You probably have a more up-to-date number than me, but the thing too, Focus, is how many NDAs get signed where you just can't talk about it.
Well,
right?
That's the thing. That's what we know of, is at least I think it was 11 million, 10, and then 2.3, if I remember correctly, are the three major ones that I'm aware of that were settled. So I think that's roughly 25 million that they've settled out of court. Now, in these settlements, I guarantee they do not take any ownership or accountability for their actions. It's like, we're going to give you a big sum of money to say we did nothing wrong, and we're just both walking away, right? No party is claiming fault, or whatever that happens to be. Because that way they can still say, because again, they have all these contracts that they can't lose. You can't lose this money, this cash flow. And so they can't tell you that, yeah, we designed and sold a defective gun. To civilians is one thing, but to all the government, LE agencies, all that sort of stuff, like that is that's hard to come back from. That's going to be investigations, which I know you press CC Doge on your latest video. I saw that in the title, which I thought was fun. But yeah, it's like maybe there should be an investigation to all these contracts that you won by producing surely the best items for the job.
Well, the other issue too is it's, I think close to $200 million, or at least hundreds of millions cheaper than the Glock offer. So can you really fault the Army for trying to save hundreds of millions of dollars? Some people now are looking back and saying, hey, maybe you can. Maybe you shouldn't get the absolute cheapest there is. But yeah, very interesting. They did stop the Small Arms Solutions, I think, has covered this, but they did just straight up stop the reliability testing at a certain point with the 320, which was kind of the basis of Glock's GAO complaint. So yeah, I would like to see somebody, and maybe some gun tubers can do this. Let's finish the 25K test, right, between P320 and Glock, and see what happens, because SIG has documents inside their facility that I don't know if you've seen, but they show the P320 as being like this accurate down here, and then the Glock is like the biggest circle on the bottom. It's like the almost full size of the page. It's like, okay, well, have we ever really tested that? And that's part of SIG's response is, we are the most tested. We are all this. And if you read the document that I sent you, and
I could even maybe agree with that statement. Like, we're the most tested. It's like, yes, but you also have the most lawsuits and failures, right? So it's like, I don't know if just the most tested is necessarily the best thing you can say. Now, if you go into the testing, which is in the document, I think they talked about how ICE shot like 60,000 rounds through their P320s without issue, which
they claimed 60,000 rounds without a zero, and I just think that's impossible.
That's what they said. They said zero malfunctions through 60,000 rounds. And I mean, I don't know if it's possible to get 60,000 good rounds of ammo back to back to back to back, right? Because what's the failure rate of ammo? Like 0.1%? That's still, much more than that for 60,000 rounds.
Yeah, it's a great point. Somebody said once, pride will be their downfall. Somebody said, thank you, Lord, for making my enemies so stupid that they do ridiculous things like this. But no, even if you compare it to the Army test that didn't get all the way to 25K, they stopped at like 10 something. They had plenty of issues with double ejection, unspent rounds, possible accuracy issues, but that was redacted.
That's the interesting thing, because on here, the 2019 for ICE, they claimed 60,000 rounds, no malfunctions. 2 years earlier, with the Army change proposal, it says simply like it would eject live rounds along with the empty cartridge, so they would just start coming out at the top of the magazine, right, during normal functioning, and became more pronounced the more ammunition evaluators fired through their pistols. And it did not meet its mean rounds between stoppages for their reliability requirement. And that is 2 years prior. So in that 2 year gap, you have one agency saying 60,000 rounds, 0 malfunctions. And then the Army says it actually didn't even meet our mean rounds between stoppages requirement. And then they note the specific issues that it was having, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is, you know, how many changes have been made possibly over the 2 years to this gun. Some of them we catch just by looking, like the sear post that I've talked about, where it used to be a divot for the sear springs. Now it's a post that comes out so they don't get crossed likely. But yeah, how many stealth changes have there been? We don't really know.
Well, so, I mean, yeah, if you just look at the changes, 2018, in the middle of that, they say that the Pentagon releases a report about this is when the drop safe issues were going on. And they say, you know, if you have a negative 30-degree angle, drop it with a hard enough drop. It's going to go off. And then what in this document it alleges that even post the voluntary upgrade for your 320, that issue is still present or can be still present in some 320s, right?